Okay, so we pick it up with the guitars and me wearing a different sweater. So first off, we'll go with the guitar bus. So all the guitars, except for actually one, which we'll get to in a second, the guitars going through this guitar bus. And we're high passing just around 100 hertz here. And then we're going into an SSL channel. And we're doing a sizable bit of EQ actually on all the guitars globally here. So boosting with a shelf at about 3 kilohertz, 6 decibels here. And boosting around the same frequency, 2.5, with a bell curve at about 4.5 decibels. And then that's going into the compressor here. So let's have a look. And a listen. So, off. So a lot more attitude to cut through the track. Then after that we have a touch of tube tech. So not doing too much, just keeping it all in check. And then finally we have the double lock. So this is kind of compression and distortion all in one, and it's a bit extreme. So that's a pretty big deal. We also have this parallel chain here that I usually use on acoustic guitars, but we're using it on electrics here. So a bit of distortion, a bit of brightness, and a bit of compression. So if I take this chain out, so it's out. So we have sort of two main dirty guitar tracks here, distorted guitars. Hard left and hard right with the panning. I didn't want my drums to be too wide, remember, because I wanted the guitars out here. And then I'm not doing too much to these individually, but I am bussing them together and doing some processing, and there are some effects. So just a little bit of R bass on the one that's panned to the left. So 127 hertz. And this guitar that's panned to the left also has this slap delay that's panned to the right. It's pretty quiet though. Swimming underwater. And it also has this galaxy verb on there. And that's also favoring the right side more, but it's not hard panned. And then our distorted track that's panned to the right also has the galaxy verb on it, and it has this mono delay that is panned to the left. So these two rhythm guitars, hard left and right, we're going off to this bus here, and we've got a little bit more R bass on both of them. And then there's some stereo widening to try to get them even wider, which is, if you put it in mono, if you put the whole track in mono, you're probably losing out a little bit of this, but it makes it work in stereo really well, and then I think it also works in mono quite well. It's just a little cleaner maybe, which I think works, because I'm not sure all of this stuff works very well in mono, so it canceling out a little bit, I think probably works in its favor. When you're doing stereo widening, you always have to check in mono to make sure that nothing really crazy is happening, because things can completely disappear and there can be real chaos. So always check in mono. Some people say mix in mono, and I'm not sure about that, but checking in mono is a good idea, absolutely. And then it's just a bit of EQ for these rhythm guitars, taking out a bit of 2.7 kilohertz. Then we have this arpeggiated guitar part here. So I actually duplicated this track, but the duplicate doesn't come in until later on in the songs. So at the beginning here, it's just this part, and I've panned it a bit over to the right side. So it sounds like this. So I got some decapitator on there, adding some pretty heavy distortion, but only mixing it in a little bit. So if I bypass this, cleaner. Dirtier. So we have a first verse and then the chorus, and then in between the first verse and the chorus, there's sort of this instrumental bit where we have like the main riff. So let's listen to that main riff from the beginning, and let's actually look at that main riff right now, because that's kind of relevant here. Sorry to jump around on you, but honestly, that's the way I mix. So at the very beginning, we have this main riff, the guitar, and the synthesizer. This is the synthesizer, with the guitar doubling. So after the first chorus and before the second verse starts, we have that part coming back, and also the arpeggiated guitar part that we've been looking at here. So when that riff comes back, that's when my duplicate of the arpeggio track comes in. So let's listen to this track. So you can hear it's a lot dirtier, right? So we have the same decapitator on there, but the mix is up higher. And then we have the loop trotter saturator here, which I love. And then this is adding some heavier distortion. So if we bypass that, and this one, we're quite a bit cleaner. So back on. Then we've got a bit of EQ on this track, taking off some low end, bringing up some high end. And then a bit of compression. So fast attack, slow release. And then after the compressor on this track, we just have some more filtering, putting it more into the middle, more mid-focused, right? I'm gonna stop the track. And then just cutting some low mids here around 340 hertz, boost around 900 hertz, and also 3.3 kilohertz. And just rolling off the top and the bottom. And there's also some automation going on, so you can see that for my first track that I'm starting with of this arpeggio, it comes down when the second track comes in. So this track is more stereo, panned out here, right? Whereas the other one is more in mono and panned to the right sort of thing. So together we get this. A lot of these other guitar parts I'm not really doing anything to, like this one here that comes in the chorus. This feedback track I'm not really doing anything to. This is just at the beginning. So this is just the opening noise. Rock and roll. And then as mentioned, we have this guitar lick and synth lead sort of playing the same part, the main riff here. So these are actually getting bussed together to this bus here just called riff. And the riff is just getting a little bit of tube tech and a little bit of a boost on the EQ here in the mid-range, 1.5 kilohertz. I didn't want this riff going through either of the guitar or the synth bus, and I wanted them to be together. So that was just a decision that I made to sort of separate them out of the rest of the group processing. So that's pretty much it for the guitars. Let's go on to the synths. Okay, so picking up with the synthesizers here, I just have on the synth bus a simple high pass at about 80 hertz. And then we can look at this synth pad here. So you can hear it's panned mostly left. And then we're going for a pull tech. And we're doing the thing with the pull tech. See, so the way the pull tech EQ works is you pick a low frequency here, and then the boost and cut are at the same frequency. And I think in the original manual, they said not to use both at once, but of course you cannot tell engineers what to do. I'm going to have to make a shirt that says that. What it does is it creates a unique curve because they don't boost and cut the same. And you can see I'm cutting here. A 10 means cut. I'm cutting more than I'm boosting. But even if you do the same amount, it's not even the same. So it's wild. And then we're boosting some 10 kilohertz on the top end too. So just brightening it. And we're doing some further EQ work here, boosting some 2 kilohertz and rolling off some more low end. So if we listen to this, if we bypass the EQ there, and then we bypass the pull tech, that's quite a bit darker. Right, so that's not going to cut through the track well. It's just going to be mud in the track like that, so you got to brighten. I mean, you don't overtly notice this part, but because it's bright like that, you do notice a brightness on the left side. It's subtle, but you're missing something with it muted. It also has a hall reverb on it, but it's quite quiet. We also have this theremin that's coming in about halfway through the song, and I'm not doing anything to this. This just sounded fine as it was, but I'm treating this as a synth, and it's going to my synth bus. Then we have the keyboards here. So we have the keys bus. So we have an electric piano, and we have an organ. So the organ is coming in later. So that's our keys. We're doing a high pass at 56 hertz. Full tech boosting 108 kilohertz. Tube tech, bit of compression here, bit of shaping of this. So I think when you have tracks like this, it's sort of part of the texture in a song like this, right? Like no one's really going like, where's the Wurlitzer or whatever the electric piano is in a, you know, like a Green Day type track, right? Really? So it's these parts are there for texture and for fullness of the arrangement, but they're not necessarily meant to be overtly heard other than maybe a time or two in the song here and there. So this sort of shapes it. We also have this saw synth track, and again, I'm not doing anything here.